So I get asked fairly often how I create these nice thumbnail images for my posts on my website. So I thought I would create a quick video and show you how I create some of these nice looking images. So how about I just jump right into it? I have a new article that I'm writing called Tailwind CSS Gradients. So I need a cover image for this post. So I like to go to unsplash.com, and Unsplash just has a catalog of these awesome high-res photos that you can use for your thumbnails and for your site. So I know that I want like a gradient or maybe some kind of color. So maybe I'll just search for gradient. And some of these might even work, like some of these images right here. And this one's kind of tricky because I usually like to kind of put in a gradient overlay on top of my image. So maybe I can look for something like colors, maybe like a color palette or like an artist paintbrush, like maybe even this right here. But I usually like to look for ones that are a little bit more wide. They're around a 16:9 ratio. So if I go through some of these, I'll probably find one like that leaf one looks kind of cool. Let me just keep on going through. And I think actually this one looks pretty good. And sometimes maybe if I'm scrolling through, I might just try one, and then if it doesn't work out, then maybe I'll try another image. So let me go ahead and just copy this image, and then I open this up in Photoshop. So I'm just going to say File, New, and paste that in there. And like I said, I typically like to keep it like a 16:9 ratio. So you can look that up. It's 640 by 360, or there's 1280 by 720. Or if you wanted to go a little bit high res, you could go 2560 by 1440. But I'm going to go right in between the two. And I'm going to say 1920 by 1080. But I actually need to crop the image. So I'm going to change this size. And then I'm going to say image canvas size. And I want to crop the height to be 1080. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I usually like to cover the top of it with a gradient. So I'll go to gradient overlay. And if I click on this gradient overlays, I have a list of just common colors that I can use right here. So I do always like to use kind of like a purple and blue, but sometimes that can, get kind of overkill if all of them are purple and blue. So I could even try some of the pinks right here. And I could even take down the opacity. This image actually looks really nice, so I don't think I need that big of a gradient on top of it. Let me go ahead and just keep that there, and I may change it. So first I'm going to add the text. So I know that the text is Tailwind CSS Gradients. So I'm just going to add Tailwind CSS. And this font is called Nexa, and it's kind of a nice looking font. I do have that on caps. So how about I take caps off? We just have Tailwind CSS. And then I think since we're creating a post about gradients, maybe the gradient text should actually have a gradient. So let me go to layers, and then I'll say gradient overlay. And inside of the post, I'm actually using, if I look at the preview, I'm teaching you how you can add these background gradients using Tailwind. And then I also have some text right here that you can add gradients to your text. So maybe I'll take the colors that I'm using right here. I'll copy that color. And let's see, let's put it right there. So we have blue to this kind of teal color. That's always a nice looking gradient. So I put that in there. I need to increase the opacity. And it's actually blending in a little too much with the background. So let me try a drop shadow. It didn't really do too much. So maybe I need to change either the gradient, or maybe that's not even going to be a gradient. So this is kind of what I do. It's kind of just playing around and seeing what looks best. So maybe I need to increase this a bit. Yeah, that might actually look better. Then we have to the green. So I'll increase that, and you won't really be able to tell it's too much of a gradient. Maybe we'll keep it like that. And maybe we'll add like a darker background gradient, so that way this text kind of stands out a little bit more. Okay, so let's align these. And I'm going to increase this. So I'll say edit, transform, scale. I want to make this text pretty big. So you can see that it does look better if we make it larger, you can see the gradient a little bit more. So let me center that, and let's play around with the background gradient again. So maybe I do want to have kind of a darker gradient. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. Let me see if I increase this opacity. That one looks kind of nice because we have the green and then it fades right there. Let's try the purple. Yeah, I think maybe we'll work with this one right here. So I do like that gradient, but I don't like how this gradient is looking on this text. So we'll change this one up. And maybe I do actually want to select more of like a purple. Nope, that's not going to look good. Do a green to a, and I know blue is not going to look good because it's going to be too hidden. So maybe even let's try a pink. I'm not liking the way that the green goes that way. Let's see, let's change this up back to a blue. Or maybe we could even change that to a white. So you can see that we kind of have like that gradient flow right there. It's very easy to read as well. So I think that looks decent. You know, it might look kind of nice. It's like a line underneath this. So how about I just create a small rectangle and put it right there. And I want this to be white. Okay, let's see how that looks. Yeah, that looks kind of cool. So maybe I also want like a little image over here. So the places that I like to go, there are two places that I go to get icons. And the first one is the Noun project. And I could always search for color here, and then I'll see some icons that I get here. So some of these might look kind of nice, even that color picker. We have the swatches here. And one more source that I like to go to is flaticon.com. And they have some pretty nice icons that we can use as well. So I'll say color. And actually this one looks pretty cool. So how about I download this PNG? And then I'm going to open that up in Photoshop, and I'll just copy that and paste it right here. So I usually like to put that to the left, but sometimes I'll play around with it and put it to the top and the right. And let's go ahead and scale this. Scale that down. Yeah, and this could actually be kind of cool. So maybe I could have this line actually touch that orange, and then I could make the line orange. Let me just see how that looks. Maybe even just white is good. So let me scale that. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. I'm still not happy with how this gradient is looking right there. So maybe I'll try and make some modifications that take some colors from this. So we'll say that we want the gradient overlay. Instead of white, let me try the orange. Actually, that looks pretty cool. And then it goes to that pink. Let's see if I were to change this to the red, how that would look. Nah, the pink was better. Okay, so let's keep that there. And you know what? I think that the text actually, if it was smaller, I feel like it would look a little bit cooler. So let's again say edit, transform, scale, and let's make this a little bit smaller. Yeah, that's going to look good. So then I need to scale this line. Let me keep it right there. And I want to move the text over just a little bit. Yeah, that's looking good. So we need to make sure that we center all of this. So I'm going to group all of these layers. Oh. Group, and I need to select group. There we go. I could always select the group and the layer behind it and then center it that way. So I think that's looking okay. I would like to have the background maybe even be just a little bit darker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new layer on top of this, and then I'm going to add a black background. So I will go with color overlay, and I want this to be black. And actually that looks kind of cool like that. So let's take the opacity down on this. And I think that looks pretty cool like that with kind of the darker background. So let me move this, make sure it's centered. And I think that's it right there. So that is the image that I will post for the Tailwind CSS Gradients post. And it's kind of just playing around. This may change later on. I might change the background. But this is kind of the basics of how I would create a thumbnail image or a cover image for any post. So if you wrote a book and you just had a shitty cover, nobody's going to want to read that. But if you had a really nice cover, it's going to be a lot more intriguing. So the same case should go for your posts as well. You should create a nice thumbnail that users then want to click and read. So I hope you found this video useful. If you have any feedback, please let me know, and I will talk to you in a later video.